Well, hey, folks, I appreciate you pausing today to join me on the Transplant Helper podcast / YouTube video series. My name is Jim Merle. I'm going to be answering 2 viewer questions today. Both of them come from the same person. It's one of my Twitter followers, Terry M. And by the way, if you want to follow her yourself, you can. She can be found at ladybirds_song. That's at ladybirds_song. She's a wonderful lady. She puts up a lot of good content, asks a lot of questions, at least to me, and seems to be a very, very good person. Both of the questions have to do with, as we were waiting for transplant, and I was a heart transplant patient, as you know, but as I was waiting for transplant, did I tend to quote unquote nest, or did I tend to write letters, put aside passwords, just prepare myself in that way, in case things didn't work out? Well, the answer to both of her questions are yes. In some senses, I did. I nested as far as the sense, not like someone might to go around and clean their house, but I nested as far as I tried to really pause and take some extra time, or at least extra moments when I could, with my wife, my children, my family members, my extended family members. I would try to take advantage while I was in the hospital of them coming over to visit, to really, kind of get down and more personal with them, to discuss some things that needed to be discussed. I know with my wife, at least, I discussed potential funeral plans, what to do if I were to pass and not make it a transplant, that sort of thing, which is uncomfortable, but you get to a point where you have to do that. I went around and made sure that life insurance policies were up to date, that insurance policies were in order, that all sorts of things were lined up. I tried to pay all the bills, even though I wasn't always able to do that because I was in the hospital. I typically would do that at home, but I tried to make sure all the bills were paid, try to double check some things like that. And although I didn't necessarily write letters, at least that I remember, I did make a lot of videos. As a matter of fact, most of the videos I made on this channel that you can find are under that Daily Dose playlist. That Daily Dose playlist was really all about my transplant journey. Some of those videos being pre-transplant. That is where I sat down and kind of gave an update as to how I was doing, saying hello to friends and family, and then at that time giving a brief devotional from the scripture, from the Bible, to try to encourage others who were struggling in the same way. At the same time, during that Daily Dose, I know it was used as a great connection with my family, especially my wife and children. They were back at home waiting on me while I was in the hospital, visited as often as they could. But as my wife tells it, she liked to sit down at night with the children and watch those things on YouTube. She would put them up on the TV and they would watch those together, kind of give us a connection. So yes, in some ways I nested in that way. Secondarily, I did go through as if every day was my last day, and I tried to give her a listing of, passwords, whether it be banking passwords, social account passwords, passwords to operate and demand my website, my YouTube channels. I tried to give her all that information, at least put it in a file where she could get to it, and, just really prepare myself for the possibility of the future. And I always thought I would live and all of that, but at the same time, you have to keep things in order. So I think nesting is likely for most of us, and I think it is a good thing. Just to stop, take time, spend extra time with friends, family members, let them know how much you care, let them know what the plans for the future are in either way, and to keep a positive attitude. Now, one of the ways my wife and I were able to keep that positive attitude is we always knew in ourselves that whatever would come, whether it be transplant or not transplant, and maybe I would pass and die and head on to my reward, that it was always going to be God's will that happened. So God's will was being done. So people would pray sometimes for me to get a transplant, for me to survive, for me to do well, and certainly those prayers were appreciated and they were all good. But my wife used to always say, prayers are going to be answered regardless of the outcome. We just want things to be after God's will. And we were happy that things worked out the way they did, but at the same time, we were accepting of both. So I don't know if that answers your question at all, but yes, I nested as far as trying to get a hold of my family, say some things to them maybe I hadn't said before, and be sure that I was clear about my love to them. And yes, I did prepare with some passwords and different things like that, just getting them ready, for what was around the corner, even if that was just, as it was, a lengthier hospital stay. Anyway, Terry, I appreciate your question. I appreciate you asking those questions. Follow me on Twitter. If anyone else would like to do that, my Twitter handle is transplant_help, and I'd be happy to reach out to you. If you ask me a question, I'll respond to it usually back in a few minutes, as I did hers by typing, but now I'm giving this video answer. Anyway, thank you so much. Until next time, stay stronger, friends.